Good evening, everyone. My name is Alan Smason, and welcome to NOLA Theatre Talk. This is, of course, a project of mine, and basically it's in conjunction with the NOLA Theatre Folk Facebook group. I have to change that because it's supposed to say folk, but that's what the name of the group is. And it's also broadcast to the theatrecriticism.com Facebook page every week. And I have to say that I'm delighted this evening to have a conversation, and hopefully for an entire hour we'll be able to sustain this. I don't think that there's ever any doubt that this particular lady, who I have called for a long time the First Lady of the New Orleans stage, can keep a conversation going for an hour. Again, I want to thank her for being with me tonight. And again, without any further ado, I'd like to welcome Janet Shea to the NOLA Theatre Talk.
Hey!
And again, I don't say that lightly. You have earned that honorific because not only, and not to make you seem very old, but not only have you done quite a lot in terms of your own career, but you've also established yourself as one of the most important teachers in New Orleans, and have had a long outreach to students for many years.
Thank you.
And I think that's essential. But again, I want to thank you for being with me tonight, Janet. It seems like every time I ever got close to a stage, you were always in it or involved in some kind of work. And of course, you're a member of Actors Equity, which of course establishes the fact that you have a very good career as an actor. You've established yourself, and that you've been able to be involved in some of the better productions, and that doesn't mean that you can't be in a good production if you're not in Actors Equity, but the fact is that you are, and that you have been, and that you'll probably continue to be so. And again, I think that anybody who has seen the work of people in Equity know that they are truly professional actors and really involved in their craft. Tell me if I Ken, if we can go back just a little bit. I mean, not that long, but just a little bit.
Okay.
You grew up in New Orleans?
Yes, I grew up. I grew up with my grandparents. My father became ill when my mother was carrying me, and she had two boys that were older, and she had to go to work. So I put me in with my grandparents on Moringo Street. And I stayed there till I was 9 or 10 years old, till I could move back with my mother and the rest of the family. Mm-hmm.
And where was your first exposure to theater? Do you remember?
My first exposure to theater, or my first time on stage, my first exposure to theater was probably in high school. At Dominican, there were things called there were plays and competition, one-act play competitions, and each homeroom had to submit something, and it kind of involved every homeroom in the school. So I started doing those little things, and then yes,
yeah. The reason I say I do remember, and it was in the early '60s, and I just can't remember any time before that. But in the early '60s, I remember going to see The Sound of Music, and I think it was at the Civic, so that might set the date as to when it was. I think sometime in the early '60s, because of course it was on stage, in 9 on Broadway, and of course the national tour would have been sometime in the early '60s. So I'm not quite sure when, but it seemed to me it was at either the Civic Theater or something like that. And I just remember being captivated by looking at all those figures moving around on stage, and of course I'm saying, oh, they're moving that scenery around, not knowing what scenery was, or those props around. And, and why are they doing that? Oh, we're supposed to pretend. Oh, I get it now. So, it's sort of like, it dawned on me.
Experience at the Civic Theater, because my mother would take me there from time to time. And the first thing I saw there was South Pacific. And I was blown away too. And then I remember it. I remember not really understanding what it was about. But my mother took me to see a production of George Bernard Shaw's Man and Superman when I was a kid. And it was so pretty to me
Yeah.
Emerson was in it, and Tyrone Power, and
Wow.
yeah, and they were
Yeah.
just so gorgeous, and their voices were so beautiful. I mean, I was impressed with all of that when I was, a youngster. Mhm.
So you were in high school. You got the acting bug, as it were. Uh,
No, really.
you didn't. So what was it that made you go to the stage again?
Bug really before then. I just didn't let anybody know.
Okay.
Because I used to, as I said, I grew up in my grandparents' house, and I was pretty much alone, or either by myself or with a bunch of adults. And I used to make up things in my bedroom. And
Ah.
yes, I would create as a child, I used to create little things in my bedroom. I did. And so I think it kind of started there. And even when I was in kindergarten, uh, because I could always memorize things. And the teachers would have me get up on stage and recite, uh, introduce somebody and speak, because I could memorize what was on the page. So that was, I used
Now
to.
you mentioned George Bernard Shaw, and I understand that he didn't like particularly George was not his particular favorite name because of a personal situation. He liked Bernard Shaw more than anything else.
Yes, he did.
But did you happen to gravitate at all towards being redheaded? Possibly with a little bit of Irish roots, maybe perhaps. And I'm not
No,
talking about
no,
hair.
no, let me tell you, no, I was a brunette. My hair was about the color of yours.
Uh-huh.
And when I started in theater, I was always cast as a little Italian girl or a little European girl, or
Ah.
yeah, as a little ethnic kind of girl. And so I would go to auditions, and I and being like 5'1" tall and dark hair, and nobody would look at me. So after a while, I decided I wanted to be looked at, and that's when I decided to have red hair.
Okay. Well, it works for you. I can only tell you that much. I can't think of you as anything else.
Yeah.
So again, when you did finally decide to do the acting thing, as far as it goes, I assume it was sort of hand in hand around the time that you started teaching too, or would that be wrong?
It absolutely was.
Yeah.
The acting thing actually started a little before that, because when I was a Dominican, um, Sister Mary Joanna would send me places, and she sent me to audition at Le Petit, because we were doing what Dominican we were doing. I'm trying to think of the name of it.
Give me a hint. Maybe I can help you.
Wuthering Heights. I thought of it. We were
Oh,
doing
okay.
Wuthering
Wuthering
Heights. Ed Nelson came in to play Heathcliff at Dominican, and he said, "We know there. If you like doing this, they're auditioning for a play called The Birds at Le Petit, and Sister said you have to go. You have to go." So my friend Joanne and I went, and we went to this audition. It was for Monroe Lipman. He had done it at Tulane, and he was now doing this same show at Le Petit. And we had never met him before, and we were scared to death. And we didn't really have to do anything, but he said, "Do you mind if I look at your legs?"
Oh, really? Did you tell him you were supposed to be a bird and you didn't have legs at all?
Yeah, my friend Jefferson Turner said, "It's because you have bird legs. That's what it was."
Oh.
So anyway, yeah, we let him see as much as he was going to see, like right above our knees, and that was okay. And so he said, "We'll start rehearsal," and then they put us in these costumes that covered up most of us.
Well, I'd like to show everybody right now. Look at that. That is now you don't have to say the year, but it's a while ago at Le Petit.
A while
Right?
ago. Oh, it's a long while ago. Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and the other lady is
Joyanne Cuco, was a friend of mine. Yes,
very
she's no
nice.
longer with us, but she was a lovely friend, and she had the theater bug for a while, and then she decided to get married and do the other.
So that was your first legitimate stage
Yes,
offering, as it were, and the rest is history, I guess, huh?
It's history.
Yeah, amazing.
Right.
So where did you start teaching? Where were the first classes that you
Started teaching right out of college, Dominican College, and I got a job at Live Oak Junior High.
Ah,
Live Oak Junior High, and you know what they had me teaching? Reading
okay.
and social studies.
Okay.
But it was a job, and so
Yeah.
I kept telling myself, "Well, you have to read the book. It's just a few chapters ahead," and so that's what I did. But the students were lovely, and everybody. I really enjoyed teaching there. I did.
And, and about how long after that did you actually get married and start to raise a family?
I got married. I graduated on a Sunday and got married the next Saturday.
Oh, so you were already married?
Yes, it was a big year for me. Finished college, uh, finished college, got married, and then got a job teaching. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Wow. So I do have I think a few old shots. I'm trying to see if this is one. Yeah, I wanted to see if you might remember this one.
Oh my God, that's my daughter. That's my little girl.
Your little girl.
My little girl, Jennifer. That's Jennifer Mary. Yeah.
Really?
Yes. Look at her. Look at her. She's so cute.
And guess what?
What?
Guess what?
What?
I think somebody might be visiting her.
I told her today to tune in.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Now you know what? We need to get you a lighting director, Jennifer, because you're a little dog.
Turn the light on.
Flashlight or something?
I have lighting. Hold on just a second.
All right. Yeah. We insist. I mean, this is not a theater.
And let there be. I'm going to do this.
Yeah. Clap on.
There you go.
Very good. Very nice.
There we go.
How about that? How about that? So your little girl. Now I know this is not a small family that you've got there, right?
No, I have 2 boys. And oh yeah, there's everybody. My goodness, I don't know how you found these pictures.
You know the internet.
Oh, yeah.
So tell us again. Now one of them is Scott, right? That's Scott.
Scott is the guy in the middle, and the guy on the end with the gray hair is Shannon.
Shannon.
Yes.
What lovely Irish names to go along with.
Yes.
Shannon was born on St. Patrick's Day, and
nice.
I was in the hospital, and every woman who had a baby was calling their son Patrick.
Oh.
I said, I can't do this. And so one of my aunts said, well, why don't you call him Shannon after the river in Ireland? I said, okay. And she said, it's a popular Irish name. So he became.
Well, you could have done Aaron too. That was a possibility.
I could have.
And that's a boy or a girl. I've had people who have been introduced as Aaron, and they're both equally attractive as boys and girls. So.
And most people, when they see Shannon Shea, thinks he's a girl anyway, and they think you're going to meet a girl, but he's a boy.
Great name, Shannon Shea.
Now,
Shannon John Shea together.
Now, Jennifer, you know, obviously you've known your mom your whole life, but the question, I guess, and it'd be remiss. I mean, as it is, I am on Steppin' Out, and of course your dad was the theater critic on Steppin' Out for 23 years. It's a record that and I know that at one point I did have a shot both of you and your mom and your dad. Your dad with Sammy Davis Jr. and Janet, who is that with you with?
That is a young NOLA student. His name is Glenn Williams. And at the time, I was directing him in a play called Crazy for You, a musical play.
Sure.
This was after I retired. It was the year after I retired. And he was so sweet. Well, they're all so sweet.
But what I love about that is that Jennifer has the best of both worlds. She's got not only a mother who's an established actress, but her dad was a noted theater critic, and not just local. I mean, he had established national ties as a theater critic, and you know, that's a love of theater that really goes deep in your family, whether it's by marriage or, you know, by progeny, as it were. So, you know, I really appreciate the fact that
It was just into her head. Baby.
I loved it. I loved it. I can remember seeing Freddie Palmisano and Louis Barroso at the Children's Theater in Le Petit, which I have my Le Petit glass.
So, and that brings you up. Now, what are you drinking tonight? I'm
celebrating Janet Shea. It's got to be cranberry vodka. That's what we do.
Oh, both of you are having cranberry. Now, I showed Janet how to make this. She thought it would be sort of bitter or nasty tasting.
Okay.
But this is actually the first time I made one here in the house was this week. It's a Negroni.
A Negroni.
Equal parts gin, sweet vermouth, and Campari. With an orange twist.
That looks fabulous.
And it tastes just as good as you think.
See, I had my doubts about the Campari because I tasted it once and it's very bitter. But he says
it's like an orange liqueur that is a little bit. But when you temper it down with the gin and with the sweet vermouth, it takes on a whole complexion. It's really quite wonderful.
It looks great.
So, Jennifer, I wanted to just sort of ask you. I mean, you've known, as I said, your mother your whole life, obviously. What was the first recollection you had of her on stage? What was it in? Do you remember?
Oh my goodness. There's been, so let me just preface with, I've seen so many things. I mean, sat on my father's lap from the time I was a child all the way through. And I have some favorites of my mother that she did, some really good favorites. And I was not allowed to see her in Wait Until Dark. I was not allowed to see it because it was kind of spooky, scary. And so the rest of my family saw her in that, and I had to stay with the sitter. But I do remember being upset about it because I had heard through grapevine that she, you know, slammed it out of the ballpark. She was wonderful. And so I would think Wait Until Dark is the first one I wished I could have seen. But I loved her in Fat Friend. That's the scene as well. And I've said this joke a lot. I think I've seen almost every actor in their skivvies. Cheers, since I was a child. And that's just, we play Boggle in the green room, and the actors would come in and off stage and would play games, and then they'd go back on stage. And that was my childhood. Was very animated and interesting, you know, which I'm grateful for because I have a lot of stories. But yeah, I loved her in that. And Streetcar tore me apart. Streetcar Named Desire. When she did that, I was probably in high school.
So Streetcar Named Desire, and of course the Blanche role, correct?
Oh, definitely. That's the role. That's the role.
Now that is I don't know. Janet, can you tell me who the other actor is?
That lady was Rosemary Tishner. She did I did some other work with her, and she was a lovely actress. And a nice lady, and she was also a teacher. But she was cast as Flores. Yeah.
Yes.
So she was a flower later. Yeah. Yeah.
I couldn't move from my seat when she was on stage. And let me just say this: my mother, my favorite actress of all time, and it's not because we're related. She really does capture the stage. That little 5'1" body commands the stage, and it's hypnotic, you know.
So I guess you've been on the stage with a lot of other actors and actresses. Who are you going to say is one of your favorites, Janet? Yeah. Are there any that you have that you always say always knocks it out the park, always wonderful?
I love Carol Sutton. I just adore Carol Sutton.
I love Janet Shea.
And as if on cue, we have the wonderful Carol Sutton with us in the house.
I saw her last week.
I love Janet Shea so much. So when I had my one-woman show, and the author asked me, who did I want to direct me? I said, I wanted Janet Shea to direct me. And she directed me in my one-woman show at the Orpheum Theater.
Let me tell you, she's fabulous, and she knows exactly what she did. But she was so nervous. She was.
I was.
She was. She said, I don't think it was almost that scene where you have to slap somebody and say, "You're going to go on that stage, damn it!" And go away. You know?
I cried on her shoulder, and she didn't give me any sympathy. She said, "Okay, are you finished crying? All right, now get on out there."
Oh my God, that's what she told me about homework, Carol.
Yeah.
What you asked me, my favorite, I really have to say, it's been a long, long time. I've said that. I've just admired her work for so long. She's so real, and there's so much depth to her and so much humor in her too. And so she can just be anything. I just adore watching her work, and I love her on screen too. She's amazing.
Yep.
Coming from the Queen. I'm so flattered coming because I call her the Queen. I call Janet the Queen.
Well, we're all in a sense a royal
I would
subject.
always be, if I'm nominated for the Big Easy Award, I would say, wait, is Janet Shea nominated? And if she is, I know I'm not going to win it this year.
Oh,
Carol, what did you bring in tonight to drink? Did you have something with you?
You know what? I'm drinking Coca-Cola because Janet knows I'm going through a little something right now. So.
It's all right. That's all right. And I know I'm saying a little prayer. What we call we call it a mishabera in Judaism. It's like a prayer for healing, and that's what we hope that you'll get that, and that you'll be back feeling good. Back in the
I hope so. I pray for that. Yeah.
So Carol, I'm gonna bug you just for a second. I've already got Jennifer. What was the first thing that you recall Janet doing that struck you? Who is this lady, and where was it that you saw her?
I really can't remember. I was trying to rack my brains, trying to remember what is the first thing. It's like I've always known Janet, or known of Janet, and then got a chance to work with Janet because we worked together in
a few things.
To Kill a Mockingbird. We've worked together in Coming to Dinner.
Yes,
Oh, great! Yeah,
it's like anybody. If you're in theater in New Orleans, you know of Janet, and I've been doing it too now for 50 years.
Yes.
Wait a minute.
What?
Yeah, you have to sort of let somebody talk and finish before you talk.
We're used to this.
Yeah, that's all right. It's no problem. But well, you are the queen. We're going to let you go. That's not a problem. We're going to let you have your way. Carol, in terms of if you don't remember the first, was there something in more recent times that you remember her doing that you just said was so over the top that you were cavelling, as it were? Which one?
Milk Train with the Tennessee Women's Theater. I remember sitting in the audience, and I can remember just being I was with Brenda Curran, and I can remember Carl Palmer, and I was saying, somebody's gonna tell me to close my mouth, because I was just sitting there and I was just mesmerized the whole time she was on stage, the whole time. She was just wonderful.
No, yeah. It's almost as if Tennessee Williams had written it forward, in a sense, because she really held that part up well.
And I can remember because, it was like not a regular theater that they were doing it.
It was like in a church, wasn't it? When in a church of some sort of converted church?
Yeah, it was kind of like under the craziest circumstances. And I can remember they had to shroud her in a sheet to get her to the stage and stuff like that.
A blanket or something.
Yeah.
And that church.
Oh my goodness, the last scene.
It was only a few blocks away from where you taught for so long at NOLA, correct?
That's right. It was maybe 3 or 4 blocks away.
Mm-hmm. And you last time we had AJ on, you were a surprise visitor for him. Yes. As far as that goes, and I said, AJ sort of took. I guess was he the one who actually took over the position for you afterwards, or when you retired?
No, because he was in the musical theater department and I was in the drama department.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Musical theater. Now you've done work with the musical theater department there too, right?
I have worked with them, yes.
And besides AJ, who did you have that you worked with?
Silas Cooper took over me when I left. He took over his chair. And Amy, I can't think of Amy.
Alvarez?
No.
Okay, because I know she was there for a little bit.
It'll come to me in about 15 minutes and I'll yell it out. But can't think of her name right now. So yeah, when I left, but Silas took over his chair, and she came in and she taught history, and he taught the vocal work is what I taught, and
Well,
everybody was acting.
And I know you did. This is Sweeney, correct? You did. Now that was where?
That was at Le Petit.
Le
That was
Petit.
directed by Sonny Bory. At Le Petit.
And yeah, I remember. And with Derek Franklin was involved with that as well.
Derek Franklin, yes, was in it, and Larry Hesdorfer was in it.
Yeah,
Yes.
And Leonard Bernalito was in it, and I'm trying to think. Helen Bullwinkle played the lady, and who was it? Desiree. She's no longer with us either. Played
sorry.
The young girl. Yeah.
So, but as far as musical theater, is that something that you enjoy, or do you like really?
I love it. I love it.
And when you do that, when you do the musical theater, do you have any people you enjoy working with? In as far as the different companies.
If I I work with anybody who wants to put me in it.
Hot silent.
Well, I understand. What I'm trying to lead up to is musical theater, musical conductors, musical directors. I mean, those are people you have to work with.
Sure.
And just I mean, there's a number of people. I hope to have a show with several music directors on. But one comes to mind for me.
Oh my God, Jefferson Turner!
That's Jefferson Turner. Hello. Well, you mentioned earlier. You weren't on Jefferson, but she mentioned you right away. And my friend Jefferson Turner.
Wow. The name you were trying to think of was Holtkamp.
Look at you,
Amy Holtkamp.
Holtkamp. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So I asked Jefferson to stop by because if anybody's going to get the dish on you, it's him, right?
Yeah, he has it.
I don't know if I had much dish. I mean, such a clean life. She's already outed herself with her biggest dish, which is her drinks and her vodka. I think everybody knows that already. So there's not much dirt to spill there.
That's good.
Jefferson.
They got to know each other in that one woman show that she did, though.
We did the cabaret together. We did.
You need to do a second one, and you need to push her to do that.
Can you tell me a little bit about how her interaction was with the students at NOCA?
One thing comes to mind. I had a student who I was having problems with, and I had a parent conference, and the mother came in and she said that the reason why I was having such problems with the student was that I was too mean. And after the meeting, I was telling Janet this, and I said, she said I was mean. And Janet said something to the effect, I'm paraphrasing, but she said, good, you should be mean to them. And I think that pretty much sums up Janet as a teacher, but she's mean maybe, but she's fair. And everybody knew that they were going to learn a lot from her in her class. So they could handle the mean.
You can handle the mean.
Because they get all the other benefits as well.
No, I'm not going to put up with mediocrity ever, because they can do a lot better than that. And I know that. And they know it too. They just have to do it. So that's what I mean.
One thing I really want to say is that when I started in the theater back 50 years ago, the theater scene was totally segregated. I mean, just almost totally segregated. And I remember saying this when I received my Lifetime Achievement Award. There were 3 women, white women in this city that was just the nicest women in theater for everybody. You didn't feel any difference with them. And Janet Shea was the lead one. Lila Hay Owens and Miss Becky Allen. And I am forever grateful to those 3 women, Miss Janet Shea especially, for just accepting us and encouraging us and stuff like that. Because we're talking about in the 60s. We're talking about 50 years ago, Yeah. And it was just a different time then. So I remember saying that on the stage, Miss Janet Shea. I appreciated that when I first started out, and I want to say it again for everybody to know how much I appreciated that.
Well, I have to say that Carol and I shared one of the funniest moments on stage that I can remember. You, Carol,
Yes, I remember that.
we both almost burst
Yes,
out
was
laughing.
coming to dinner. I know.
You say it, you tell.
I don't know how we continued on with the show.
Well, I remember that
we
show, but
tell
I don't
them,
remember
Janet?
that. This was an unscheduled
You
keeper.
can't say the name though.
We're not going to say the actor's name,
No.
but his false teeth fell out on the stage.
You know,
We were all on stage with him, and he was talking, and his teeth fell out. And he stood down and picked them up and put them back in his mouth. And we just
it was
lost.
the funniest thing you've ever seen in your life. I don't know how you went on with that scene.
Oh my God.
Jefferson, do you remember anything that you could mention also as far as Janet's musical abilities? Have you done anything with her working with the music?
Janet is a brilliant musician, and she undersells herself so much. And she, when I've worked with her, anything you throw at her, she's entirely capable of. But she does the whole kind of song and dance of like, oh, I'm not sure if I can really sing this that well. Oh, I don't know about my voice, and you just have to kind of go, come on, you got it. But the first show that I music directed that Janet was in, she had a song where she didn't sing. She had a song where she rapped.
Okay.
The big number, the big upper was a big rap number.
Somehow I can't imagine you rapping.
Oh, you can rap.
Really? Okay.
But rap, I'm going to rap.
So does she do the beatbox too, or?
I think you did have to do that in the song at some point, didn't you? Wasn't there like a?
Yeah, there was all that stuff. Yeah, there was
Okay.
sounds and all of that. This is in
Amazing.
the wedding singer. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the wedding singer.
Sure.
It's amazing to have you in the house with us to celebrate Janet tonight. I want to thank you for being here. Jefferson, I've got a bunch of other pictures, and I want everybody to know that I have actually asked you, and I hope that we will be able to set up a future date for some of the music directors. And I'm talking about people like Donna Clavo and some of the other people like Michael McKelvey and people who have been music directors. Yeah, I mean, I want to have as many as I can. Obviously, I may not be able to get everybody in the room, but I'll do what I can. And even Alan Payne out at Rivertown. He's and then Natalie True and some of these other people who've been out there doing some amazing work. And I'd love to be able to get them all in and talk about what they do, because I don't think a lot of people know how important it is, for a music director in terms of a musical show, what they do and how they add so much texture to the written words. So again, I'm thankful that you're here tonight. And Carol, the same for you for being here, and Jennifer. I don't know that this would have been a real family affair without you, Jennifer. So
Thank you so much.
I
Thank you. It's been great. New Orleans Theater. I can't wait for it to come back.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I want to, if I can, I'm going to steal Janet away for the last 25 or so minutes. I wanted to be able to take her a little bit and sort of go down some of the other pictures that I've got that I want to display, etc., and talk a little bit more about her craft and what have you. So you all can stick around. I'm gonna pull you out of the stream right now, but stick around.
Okay.
If y'all want to come back.
Everybody, thank you.
Deal with that. But Jefferson, thank you very much for being here, and Carol, the same for you. Thank you, and I hope to see you very soon too as well. And Jennifer, say goodnight, Mama. I'll talk to you a little bit later.
Mama, you're so pretty. I love you.
Oh, you're so pretty.
So, again, for those of you just joining us, this is Janet Shea, as I like to call her, the First Lady of New Orleans stage, but as Carol Sutton likes to call her, the Queen. And I had a lot of other pictures that I wanted to go over, and we will get to them and all. But I think that there's so many things that you've been able to accomplish, and little bit by little bit, I should tell you that some of the people that were unable to join us tonight just couldn't be here that I asked, and they apologized. Augustine, for instance, and Nick, who had actually been instrumental in getting you with Milk Train. And again, for those of you who didn't remember the picture we had, that was you and Milk Train. They both are actually taking part in some of the very important protest marches tonight. And so again, they said we've got to be in a protest march, so therefore we can't be there. But we love some Janet. Everybody seems to miss seeing you. So I wanted to sort of go back. Tell me a little bit about the Belle of Amherst. What was the story on this one?
The Belle of Amherst came to me via a producer director called Sharon Schreiber. I don't know if you remember her. She had Theater Marigny. Her little theater is the storefront theater on Marigny Street.
Okay.
And she had asked me if I would do. I did another show for her first. I did Sweet Bird of Youth for her during the Tennessee Williams Festival.
Okay.
And, between you and me, I think she is responsible for the Tennessee Williams Festival because she was doing Tennessee Williams shows really around that time. But it everybody else kind of caught on to it. So she said, after I did that show, she said, "Would you do a one-woman show, The Belle of Amherst?" And I had seen Julie Harris do it on television. And I said yes. And then I read it and I said, "Oh my God, it's so long. Are you going to cut it?" And she said, "No, you have to memorize it." So I did. And I think we rehearsed it for maybe 5 or 6 weeks before we did it. It's just a lovely experience to do Emily Dickinson because she is such a unique persona, soul. Her perspective, the time of during the time that she was living, and the secretive life that she led. She became very fascinating to me, and so that's from the Belle of Amherst, and that was at the Marigny Theater. And after I did it there, certain groups asked me to do it as fundraisers for their churches, and I did it in about 3 different places for several community churches in the area.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's life. Mm-hmm.
So that brings up again, a consideration. I'm a critic. I see people go on stage, and they play with one another. They play off of each other's words. Is it more difficult for you to do a role in which you're a one-woman show where you have to sort of give yourself the cues?
Yes.
I know you did one not too long ago where you were a gossip columnist. I'm trying to remember. Was it?
It was Ann Landers.
Ann Landers, wasn't it? Yeah.
I did Ann Landers.
And you had to constantly, about a 90-minute show where you had to give yourself your own cues and talk to yourself, essentially. Yeah.
I did Lillian Hellman. I did Diana Vreeland. I did Belle of Amherst. I did Ann Landers. And I did The Nun with the Gun. That was just a 30-minute show, Sister Stanislaus, by myself. Yes. And what you have to think about is outside of yourself.
Yeah.
You have to think outside of yourself for everything, because it's really, you can't be thinking about yourself at all, or else it's boring, I guess. I don't know. But I've had some good directors there too with
right. But I'm sure that the directors sort of help it along and maybe give you some cues as to how you help yourself as far as good. But I oftentimes wonder, is it more difficult to give yourself the cues and to be responsible, because you can't blame anybody else if you're on stage, and you miss something, and you may have something that would trigger a long monologue or something that.
Well, for me, what seems to help me out is the business that I'm doing. What am I doing at the time? And they do say it's about verbs, don't they? So if I am if I am lighting a cigarette and talking, it's getting the cigarette lit. If I'm reading a letter, I'm talking, and I'm talking. It's about what I'm doing, and not so much about how I'm saying what I'm saying. Does that make any sense at all?
Sure, absolutely, absolutely, yeah. So again, that was a Belle of Amherst, and I know we didn't get a chance to when Jefferson was on, and maybe I can bring it back. This is one of your lovely follies, right? This is when you were.
That was Follies. That was, oh gosh, was that in the 90s? It must have been in the 90s. I don't remember exactly what year, but yeah,
Jefferson, did you ever see that Follies at all? Yes or no? Do you remember seeing that Follies?
I didn't work on that.
Yeah.
Was that Summer Lyric?
that was that Summer Lyric, and it was in the 90s, Jefferson. I don't remember what year in the 90s.
I just wondered if you saw it just as a theater goer, maybe. No, that's okay. I didn't get what you brought in tonight to drink either, so I wanted to make sure I didn't leave
right
you
around.
out there.
It probably was right around the time I moved to New Orleans.
Yeah. So, what is it you're drinking tonight? I didn't ask.
I have a drink. I have it in my Bucky's glass. It's boring. It's Dr. Pepper.
It's okay. It's all right.
Dr. Pepper and crushed ice.
Don't tell me it's Diet Dr. Pepper.
All right. All right. We're gonna go back to the stream again, Jefferson. All right. Come back later. All right. So that was Follies. And
yeah, almost got to do it again this summer.
I was about to say, there are a lot of people who almost got to do it this summer.
Yeah, almost got to do the same role again this summer. Yeah. Solange Lafitte, the French one.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, I know. And again, you mentioned Tennessee Williams. It wasn't all that long ago that I remember you being on stage with a lot of people becoming Blanche, if you remember that. And that right there from left to right is A.M.A. Hayes, of course. And then you've got Lisa D'Amour down below, who is not only, I guess acting as an actor there, but, a noted playwright. Beth Bartley, who's there.
Yeah.
And again, you. And again, you're so moving your fist that it kind of got blurred a little bit. So it's unfortunate. But I mean, I can see the fierceness coming out on this. I mean, it was a well done piece, and I love seeing all the ladies who were Blanche on stage. That
was Lisa's idea to get the three Blanches together.
So and I do remember, and I don't have a picture though. I do remember seeing you in Glass Menagerie too. I mean,
yeah,
Tennessee Williams seems to be part of your blood work, if you will, almost.
Yeah. That was David Hoover cast me in that and directed that show with some of his students from UNO, and it was wonderful to do that.
Is there a particular Tennessee Williams heroine that you identify with more than the others, or are they all equally the same?
Well, they're not equally the same. I think I can identify with Blanche, Milk Train, and Amanda.
I was about to say Amanda, yeah.
Those three, I can identify with those three more than the others that I've done. Yeah, and I guess maybe it's because they're just stronger characters and complicated,
And again, like Sweetwater Youth, she's not exactly a nice lady,
not a nice lady at all.
So it's hard to really find some endearing qualities about her because she's really kind of wrapped up in herself.
She is wrapped up in herself, yeah. But to set that off, Chance has got to be, you've got to know that he's taking advantage of her. So
absolutely,
a little something,
They're using each other for different purposes,
right?
As best as they can, and that's obvious as far as it goes. It's just amazing that he was able to write so well for women, and Milk Train, of course, is a very to me that was a very difficult role, But Amanda, as demanding as she is, she really has a lot of endearing maternal charm. She really wants the best for her kids, even though she's somewhat oppressive in the way that she attempts to get her children through life, and becomes a bit of a problem. But you have done the role. I just imagine that that reading those words on the printed page, when they come to life on stage, there must be, what Tennessee Williams kind of said with Blanche. I don't want realism, I want magic, and you get a lot of that, don't you?
You do get a lot of that, and here's the other thing for me about these characters that we're talking about, and all of them are just a little bit off. The reality doesn't check in because they're lost someplace else, and they feel good someplace else, and they are enchanted with their youth and their charm and their and that was their power, and then all of a sudden they're thrust into dealing with real things. So so it's kind of that's kind of like that was like my tip off in playing those things, is that it's there's something off here. And yeah.
And when it comes to, I guess, any role that you're doing, I mean, you have to have the motivation, et cetera. You have to have a good director to kind of like feel it out for you. And don't worry, I don't have any directors that are lurking behind tonight to come up. I wish that I did have David Hoover or some of the ones that you've mentioned before. Sonny Bory or any of the ones that you've worked with. But I really wanted to keep it a little bit light today.
That's fine.
And they tend to establish their connection with you, but I wanted this to be more a little bit about you than about some of the other people. Jennifer, I'm going to bring you back in real quick. You've been listening to us. Do you recall any of the Tennessee Williams women that your mom did?
Oh my gosh, definitely Milk Train, definitely the Sweet Bird of Youth. I mean, all of them. I mean, she is a master at Tennessee Williams. And how to play, what the expectation is, the actions, the little picadillos of the movements, and just she plays it like a fine instrument, And he gives you such good words. He gives you such good words to be able to wrap your mouth around, so to be able to watch.
Great.
Carol, how about you? Any favorite Tennessee Williams part you remember her doing?
Well, of course, Milk Train, but I was thinking about another role that she did at Le Petit, because I was surprised that her co-star wasn't part of the tonight, was when she did Grey Gardens.
Oh,
and I loved them, and she and Leslie, I loved them in Grey Gardens. And I kept expecting Leslie to come pop in any moment now. I loved Grey Gardens.
That was so much fun. Yes.
I would have had Leslie. Leslie was a little busy, but that's okay. She's been in the show before. We've had her in before. And I hope to have her back in again. But yes,
I hope these ladies are all back on stage together. I'd like to see them all in one.
Wouldn't that be great?
You should do it.
Yeah, I would love that.
Find a script, and you and Leslie and Carol, I would just be warm in the seat.
I would love to do that.
It would be.
I'm getting myself together just to be able to do that.
Good.
Right. Yes.
I think that'd be great.
So I don't want to end on a bitter note, but we've been experiencing a lot of turmoil, and I think I would be remiss if I didn't mention the protests that are going on, et cetera, Black Lives Matter, et cetera. Janet, you proved yourself, at the forefront in terms of your teaching, et cetera. I mean, there's never been a student that I don't think was touched by you, no matter where they were in society, whether they were African American, whether they were not. But I know that you've had a special place in your heart for all people, and you've extended yourself to everyone. It's going to be a while because of the pandemic before we get back in. But I hope that when we do start to go back in, it'll maybe be an opportunity to start doing things a little differently. at least that's my hope, that we maybe use this downtime to sort of re-engineer what we're doing and what we have been doing, and perhaps try to become a little bit more inclusive, a little bit more diverse than we have been. Perhaps, these are difficult discussions, no doubt about it. But, these are the things that we really probably need to do now. And I hate to say, to use the pandemic as an excuse, but, perhaps this is an opportunity that we should think about. And again, I don't know if you feel the same way, but I kind of feel you probably do. That no time like the present to start making some change and getting the theater back.
Absolutely. Well, it's just been said over and over, but I just don't understand what's going on or why these things happen to people. I just love people. I don't.
Yeah, she does. She does.
She really does, but everybody doesn't have that love that you have, Janet. That's why you're so very special, and you have been special for all these 50 years. That's what I was talking about when I said these three ladies have been there for us all these years. That's very special to me.
And how ahead of her time she was. I have to say this.
Wow. She really was.
I'm going to tell you, in 1974, in a predominantly white neighborhood, one of her favorite students used to babysit us, and he was an African-American 16-year-old boy that used to come.
Yeah, he was brilliant.
Brilliant. And you do not see that commonly on my street.
He was my friend. I loved him.
And we loved Don. But what lesson is that for me? That's why I say it's parenting. That's a lesson for me as a child to have. That was normal. That was normal for me. That wasn't any, Don would come in on Fridays. My parents either she'd be in a play or my father was reviewing something, and he would come in and babysit us because he was a brilliant, brilliant boy that gave us really good influence. And so we're talking in the early 70s in a predominantly white neighborhood. And he went on to edit college textbooks in Chicago, truly. And God rest his soul, because he passed away. But we maintained a relationship with Don from childhood, and she did from the time she taught him all the way through his life. And that was just because my mother loved everything.
Loved him.
So well, cheers to Don. Let's to Don.
Yeah, sure. And there've been a lot of people that have passed. I remember Elliot Keener. Brilliant actors who are no longer with us. I mentioned the other day Roy Dumont, who was an established actor and unfortunately passed away as well. And we hold them in high esteem when they're here, and when they're gone, it's sad, but unfortunately, there's not a lot of their legacies left. A lot of people don't remember what they did, and it is a shame. And then again, I know that we have Le Petit still active, but I mean, how many people remember what happened at Gallery Circle? It goes down, and
we were after that was horrible.
Dinner Playhouse,
right? It's like
that, Carol. You remember what happened? Do you remember what happened?
I never worked at Gallery Circle, but I remember Gallery Circle. Yeah.
The reason there is no more Gallery Circle is because they were going to cast black actors, and the owner did not want black actors in his building.
I remember that. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. That's why I say she was ahead of her time. I can never forget that.
It's horrible. I just don't understand why. I don't understand why. And
no, but it's the same. She feels the same with homosexuals, or with my childhood, actors would come over and actors are a chameleon. They can assume anything. When you're a talented actor, it doesn't matter. You can just become that character. And so they'd come to dinner and be a whole kaleidoscope of talented human beings that, just would encapsulate the character. And so if you're raised like that as a child, you're looking at just the talent and the spirit that comes from inside.
We never knew who was going to be sleeping over.
What'd you say? Which one?
We didn't know who was going to crash on us.
No, you never knew. You never knew. There'd be somebody on the sofa, and I'd come downstairs and get my cereal. You know, I knew how to make a martini when I was about 9. You know, Dad can make a better martini, but my mother, like that, it was a very colorful, just unusual childhood of acceptance. We didn't know any other way. That's just how we were raised.
I remember, Jennifer, you posted one time about being at the Blue Room for Pearl Bailey, and then I asked you if we were there that day too, and you kind of remember that because she had put an out table right by her, and she was performing for us. We had brought our mothers for Mother's Day. She said, "I was there that day.
I was there that night, and I was there for James Brown at the Blue Room when he performed, and Ella Fitzgerald sang "Happy Birthday" to me on my 15th birthday.
I was there for Ella Fitzgerald, the Blue Room too.
I was there. It was February 21st, 1980. That was the year. And she sang "Happy Birthday." She stopped the show, came off the stage, and sang "Happy Birthday" to me. And I just feel like I got something better than Oprah. I don't know if Oprah.
Oh, dear.
How do you beat that? How do you beat that?
And you get a happy birthday, and you get a happy birthday, and you get a happy birthday. Jennifer, thank you for being with us tonight. I want to thank you so much for being with your mother. I'm gonna sort of wrap things up, so you take care of yourself, all right?
Take care, guys. Thank you.
Take care, Carol. The same for you. We want to thank you for being with us. It's always a pleasure, and we pay homage to the Queen together. There you go. All right.
I love you, Carol.
Oh, hail the Queen!
Oh, and the diva. Let's bow to the diva.
All right. And again, that's going to leave just the two of us. I just want to again thank you for being here, Janet. You know, it's been a lot of times people say, "Oh, it's going to be a whole hour. We're not going to have enough time to talk." And actually, this is a joy for me because an hour really is about the right time to really go over somebody's career, what they're doing, and to bring some other people in to share. But I think 2 hours would be kind of reaching, and a half an hour is not enough. We'd be done and over with. So
hours.
yes, that's right. We got to get another drink. So again, those of you who are tuning in now, this is NOLA Theatre Talk, a part of the NOLA Theatre Folk Facebook group. See, I corrected it. And again, we have created this as a group on Facebook that you have to become a member of. We live stream to that every week, but we also live stream to the theatercriticism.com Facebook page as well. Theatercriticism.com is the website that I created for theater reviews, but there is a Facebook page that supports it for social media, and we stream to that as well. And occasionally, I will upload these talks to my own YouTube channel, and we'll be able to share them out there as well. But it's a great pleasure for me to be with you and to share some of this time because again, there are a number of people obviously who've established careers, etc., and then there's some who are just a little bit in a higher stratosphere, and I like to put you in that rarefied air because you've deserved it through the years. You've proven yourself to be not just a capable but a truly gifted actor, and I know that anybody who I mention your name to in New Orleans theater just says nothing but the highest of things about you, and well, they should. Nobody should ever say anything bad about Janet Shea, in my estimation. So I want to thank you for being here tonight, and I want to let everybody know that tonight we're going to be finishing up with you, but on Monday we're going to be meeting, God willing, the tropical storm Cristobal does not give us any problems, but we're going to meeting with Michael Mitchell of the New Orleans Theater Association. A lot of people don't know what this organization has done and how important they have been to supporting theater since the 80s. And again, Michael is a lawyer. He's now retired, but a very passionate man about theater. And those of you who don't know about him, please come by Monday at 8 o'clock. Join us as we learn more about the New Orleans Theater Association. And again, my hat's off again to Janet Shea for being with us. Again, NOLA Theatre Talk. My name is Alan Smason, and I'm your host. Again, I hope that you'll stick around for next week as we get through this storm this weekend, and that you'll be back with us to see Mike Mitchell. And I believe that next Friday, a week from tonight, we will hopefully have on Kalindra Smith and several people from the American Theater Critics Association Diversity and Inclusion Committee to talk about some of the issues of facing theaters now and theater critics and how we can get more diversion and inclusion within our ranks. Thank you very much, Janet. You take care. And again, at this time, I'm going to tell everybody have a very good weekend. Please be careful. Just stay safe out there, and I'll see you at the theater.